Well, we are officially done with the season, our FD season, and even the fun event season. So North Dakota, the ND Drift finished up 2 weeks ago, and the car broke on like the last day, which is, I mean, it's better now than an FD, and it's better now than start of next year. So supercharger broke. Somehow the flange snapped in half. I'll show you real quick. So somehow there's a pulley that goes right here that attaches to that shaft. Snapped. Everything else seems fine. This pulley got a little damaged, but considering that's spinning so fast and then boom, hit that. Our damper, shout out Daco, did wonders. So anyways, we got to talk to Whipple and see if we can actually get that rebuilt. If not, we'll end up doing a bigger supercharger or something else. Got a Corvette in the background. That's Brendan Greaves. Anyways, so yeah, I'm going to start the teardown process today. We'll just start pulling things apart, putting it in buckets, and then I'll end up cleaning them before snow flies. Hopefully this weekend I can get it pushed outside and degreased and go through everything. May as well start wrenching, I guess. Let's go. Basically, all I'm going to do is just start ripping everything apart. The goal is to get the motor ready to be pulled by the end of the day. But I'm just going to take everything off the front end, maybe leave the fenders and stuff for now. But yeah, just take everything off and just get it ready to be pulled. I don't have to rush anything, but we'll just start slowly pulling things apart. My car is too low, so I can't fit under here with the creeper. Times like this would really be nice with a lift. That's just something we don't have. Pro tip, use a yoga mat if you can't fit under there with the creeper. Obviously, I could probably fit if the wheel dollies were on the front, so then the car would be more at an angle and not like this. I maxed out the jack and jack stands in the back. Regardless, I didn't want to take it off that because as soon as this is done, I'm going to drop it and then raise the front. So it takes a little bit longer. I got to move the car around, so I got to have it on the dollies, and it takes less time to just do it this way. Use a yoga mat. You won't get dirty. You'll still get dirty, but it won't be as dirty. Alright, rear is done for the most part. I still gotta do the diff, subframe, and all that. That'll be at a later date once the engine is pulled. It is worth noting, I do keep the jack underneath the car. Probably shouldn't trust these Harbor Freight jack stands that much, so I just leave that there in case one fails. At least I have that to fall back on. So yeah, gonna finish pulling the exhaust and we'll go from there. So I got the exhaust pulled. What you probably also saw was I dropped the rack. Now you don't have to fully take the rack out, but what I did was took all the bolts that are holding the rack, left the tie rods attached. That's the trick to getting these ISR headers in. ISR, amazing job with building the headers. Like, it works great, but a lot of people who do the V8 swaps, you already know, it's hard to get the engine in and out, and also the headers. It's crazy. The trick is to drop the steering rack. You don't have to take it all the way out, but just if it's dropped with the tie rods holding it on, you can move it around, and the steering shaft itself will get out of the way of the header. Then you can take the header out without having to leave the header in the car when you pull the engine. I'm also draining the rack just because we're pulling the engine, so I may as well get all the fluid out now. Well, I probably should have waited to undo the power steering line before doing the headers first, that way I didn't get drenched in fluid when I turn the rack. But either way, when you drop the rack, when you turn the wheel, this shaft right there somewhere, it's kind of dark, the steering shaft will actually turn with the rack, making it way easier to get the header off. So I was able to get that off in like 30 seconds. Gonna do the other side. Don't really need to film that because it's literally the same thing as this side, except you don't actually have to move the rack because there's no steering shaft there because left-hand drive. All right. And just like that, I'm done for the day. If I'm being completely honest, with the amount of time I've spent on this, I probably could have had the majority of everything off. The engine could have been on the cherry picker, ready to be pulled, if not already out of the car. That's me rushing. I'm genuinely taking my time. That way everything I take off, I can inspect as I'm taking it off to see if it's working, if it's not working, what the deal is. It's also, this whole season's been really rough. It's been really long for me. So I'm just trying to like genuinely enjoy working on the car again. So I'm gonna take my time pulling it apart and then fall back in love with it, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I love the car. I love drifting. I love everything about it. So I hope that doesn't sound like I hate working on it, but sometimes, you know, rushing through everything, you lose the passion, and just slowly working on it to gain the passion back. So I got the car pushed back into its little corner, bunch of stuff put in the basket, bunch of stuff on the shelf, a lot of rags thrown away. You may be wondering why it's right here. Now, we have a customer car that I cannot talk about, but that's going to be staying there for a while. I can't talk about it, that's why it's covered up. You'll find out eventually. Got Brennan's car right here. I'm going to deliver that next weekend to him. But yeah, so figured the customer car, it's going to stay here for a while. So we'll just push it off. That'll take my bay, and then I'll work around it. I can have this thing pulled apart, start the rebuild, and I'll work around that. So yeah, pushed around. Moved over that way. It's a walking area. I can still work on his car when I need to. And yeah. Day 2. Actually, it's kind of the afternoon. I've spent this morning working on some carbon Kevlar molding, and probably do that a little bit later tonight too. I only plan to work on this thing for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe even only an hour. Plug away a little bit. We've got plenty of time to tear it apart, and I'm gonna do a little bit more molding on the carbon Kevlar stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna just get to it. I think I'm gonna start on the interior. A lot of the front end is pretty much ready for the motor to be pulled. I want to get the interior pulled out, at least the dash, so I could pull the wiring out, and yeah, just have fun with it, or try to have fun with it, or just maybe not even have fun, but just start pulling some wrenches or turning wrenches and pulling bolts out. Yeah, so I'm just gonna start pulling stuff apart, and we'll see how far I can get. Now this seems like as good of time as any to mention RaceQuip. RaceQuip supported our program this past year, but I mean, we've been supporting them for quite a while, just buying their products because they make some great products at a very affordable rate. When I first built my 240 years and years ago, a lot of the parts I used was RaceQuip, just because that was the most affordable yet good product, and I could pick it up at a local dirt track store. You can't really do that with like other seats or other just any parts in general, you know. Like, they make real good products. My butt is actually super comfortable just sitting in here after hours of abuse. That sounds really bad. My butt doesn't get abuse, but my car gets a lot of abuse, and I sit in seats for very long, and I've got a bad back, but this seat makes it way better. It sounded very freaking dirty. I'm sorry. Got the dash pulled. As far as wiring stuff goes, we are pretty much disconnected engine harness wise. I know it kind of looks like a cluster F in here. Engine harness wise, everything's good that way. We just have like the relays and whatnot and all the external wiring that gets ran through the car. But yeah, we're good like engine wise to pull the engine out now. Interior is, I mean, it's close to, it's not really that close to being pulled apart, but it is, because it's just like bolts for the seat brackets, seat harnesses, fire suppression, and like the wiring and stuff. Dash taken out. Everything else, I mean, it's all pretty simple, I guess. Okay, something dumb that I'm now just realizing is the bulkhead for the wiring. We didn't actually riv nut the firewall. When we finished the wiring, the engine was already in the car, and we couldn't fit the riv nut tool to get the riv nuts like set in place and done all that. So we actually used a riv nut as like just a nut, just so we could bolt that up, because I mean time was running out and we had to get to Atlanta. So yeah, now I have to wait for somebody to show up and help me pull it. You have to unscrew from one side while holding the other side. So yeah, that's something to note. We'll just have to riv nut it once we're once the engine's pulled. That way we won't have this problem again. This is our wiring bulkhead. As you can see, it does look nice, especially with all these Allen heads. But yeah, it's just no bueno. The riv nuts are not riv nutting. So I'm gonna wait, and then I'll get the wire harness pulled. Matt showed up. Hello. We got the bolts out, so I'm just gonna finish pulling that. So got the accessories off, kind of organized everything, put it back in the bin, which is sitting over there. Everything engine-wise is pretty much ready to be pulled. Just got to do the motor mounts and pull the drive shaft, and then unbolt the trans. But Matt's here, he's working on new headlights for his truck, and look at that, the face he makes when he tears stuff off. Dang. Yeah, so we're just gonna kind of hang out. It's qualifying day for FD Irwindale, so we're just gonna do this, put it on the projector, watch that, and hang out. I'm just gonna say this right now. Matt specifically asked me to film him taking the plastic piece out. Ooh. Wow.
It's so satisfying.
Can't even film it because it's just bright. New headlights, check.
Sweet.
You happy?
Yes.
Alright, it's Saturday. I know I was gonna pull everything apart by the weekend, but honestly I'm just having fun with pulling the car apart, and it's super cold outside, so when I go to pressure wash it, I mean I don't want to freeze anyways, so all good. I'm gonna continue ripping it apart. It is Irwindale this weekend, so we're going to watch Top 32 on the projector. We watched qualifying last night. Kenzie's already got the projector up. She's playing Zelda. About 2 more hours until Top 32, so I'm going to start ripping apart the car and watch that when that comes up. Now we do run a side shift trans, not a top load like some of the other dog boxes. So Trans tunnel is way bigger. It's cut out way further this way just so we can allow the shift linkage. I'm going to pull this panel off and you can see the actual shift linkage and why you have to cut so much of the trans tunnel out just to fit it. So with the H-pattern dog box, you'll see either a top load or a side shift. This is a side shift, meaning the side of the trans is where the levers go to actually actuate which gear you're in. But center line of the transmission is here. You can see way over here is where those rods actually go. They have to go on the side of the trans, aka side shift trans. So we have this giant cutout in the trans tunnel for it. This transmission's worked really good for us this year. I haven't had any issues with it. It's honestly just cheaper than a top load, top shift, and when we built this car, that was kind of the budget we had, and we made it work. It works good. Unfortunately, I do actually have to take this off to get the engine out. I can get it out with it there. It's just, it takes a little bit more like precision, and being a one-person dude trying to pull it out, it's a little bit harder. So I'm gonna just pull it off. It takes maybe an extra 5 minutes. Side shift piece is out. I'm gonna finally remove this bash bar section and get the cherry picker put in there. I didn't want to take this off right away just because it's easier to grab and move around on those wheel dollies, but engine's coming out, so that's going to be taken off. It'll make it easier to get the engine out, and then I'll just bolt it back on so I can push the car around easier. Yeah, boom. Now, I don't care who you are, whenever you're pulling an engine, there's always going to be the question of, what the hell did I forget? I forgot two things today. I forgot the wire for the starter and the heat exchanger lines. So, kind of screwed me up. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but engine is out. Engine is out, it's lowered. I've got a engine crane thing holder that I'm going to bolt it up to in a bit. I'm just going to take a little break, pull the trans off, pull the clutch, all that stuff off. And call that good. Still got to take everything else apart on the car, but the engine's out, that's the main thing. Alright, that'll probably do it for this video. I'm not quite sure how long it is, so if it's a long video and you've watched it this far, thank you so much. I'm just going to clean up all this stuff. Matt got a bunch of stuff that we're going to pull out of his truck, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll continue tearing it down later. Bye.